And actually you have solution of every problem. But if you read that book, it says just listen, ability to listen. Then another word came is deep listening. Another book by Arun Myra, we had a webinar with him some time back, and we got to know the more deeper aspects of the merit of deep listening. Our president Srimati Rita Kulkarni conducted that session, and it was so much insightful session that we must learn to have deep listening. There is a helpline in Delhi. As a Rotarian, we invited once. I am a Rotarian also. I was president of Rotary Club of Maurya in Delhi in 2011-12. Then I served in the district after that for quite some years. Before coming here, I was very active at both the levels. So once we invited our Rotary Club of DSPSR, there was Delhi School of Professional Studies and Research. They invited some NGO. What they were doing, they were having a helpline for those people, those who want to commit suicide. The people who commit suicide, the number is huge. And what they shared, they received in a month 10,000 calls on an average. And what most of the time they do, they just listen. They just listen to people. So that is true for both actually, men and women both. And most of the time, that if somebody listens to someone, the thought of committing suicide vanishes away. That was their lesson. And that is why they have this strategy. There is nothing much required at that time. Just somebody should be there to listen to someone who wants to commit suicide. So emotions are very important. You can just kill yourself or you can kill others. The incidence of killing in US by the young people has increased during this period, as has been reported. And they are thinking the permission to carry arms should be allowed to young people or not, or they have to take permission from their parents. These kind of discussions are happening because they are not emotionally that stable. And then comes the intuitive thinking, which is basically the kind of thinking that helps you understand reality in the moment without logic or analysis. There is no language involved in it either. It's entirely about science and sensations. Most of the time it goes against whatever we might think of it as rational. Please mute yourself, whosoever has joined now or opened the, please mute yourself. Yeah. So, and subjective thinking is centered on the individual and thoughts, and personal preference is specific to that individual. It cannot be generalized or made objective. Subjective thinking paralyzes the mind from seeing outside of one's personal view. That is also important. So one is objective reality and one is subjective perception. Like there is a picture also you can see. What do you see when something same appears in front of you? Each one thinks differently. If you have eyes, if you do not have eyes, the story you must have heard of, that blind people were analyzing the elephant, और जिसको पूंछ हाथ में लगी उसे लगा कोई सांप है या रस्सी है. रस्सी, सांप को रस्सी समझ के चढ़ गए थे, वो कौन थे जो है. सो perception and subjective thinking, these are very important things to understand. And then comes the spiritual intelligence part of it, that how do we nurture that. Spiritual intelligence is an ability to access higher meanings, values, abiding purposes, and unconscious aspects of the self, and to enable these meanings, values, and purposes in life richer and more creative lives. So when we say purpose, purpose is not only about your own self, it's about higher purpose, self-discipline, morality, courage. Love is not only about loving yourself or loving your wife or husband or your children or your family members. It's about universal love, which calibrates at a much higher level. Courage calibrates at 200 level of consciousness on David Hawkins scale of consciousness of 1 to 1000. Today is not the time for dealing with higher consciousness things much, because we are dealing today largely on these three things. But I can just introduce you to the concept that David Hawkins did his PhD from US, and there is a book available called Power versus Force. So courage is the first thing which appears at 200 level of consciousness on a 1 to 1000 point scale of consciousness. Below 200 is shame, guilt, pride, fear, apathy, greed, and all that. So all the negative domains of consciousness are below 200. And all these viruses and all that, they are even lower than shame. That's why you can't even see them. Their existence at the level of consciousness is very, very low. But see how much they have damaged the entire world on the one hand, and how much other positive aspects have emerged also. So if you see the holistic perspective, it has both the sides. And love is beyond 500. Most of the scientists could not cross, even Einstein, the level of 499, which is again a second barrier. 500 and above, is the second barrier of 499. The linearity domain, the word linear that you have seen earlier in one of the slides, the linear domain is up to 499. And beyond 499, you move into the spiritual realm actually, which is non-linear in nature. So all your intelligences which are at a lower level, they don't have that capacity to tap into that higher consciousness. Giving, law of giving, as it is said, one is the art of living that we belong to. The another is the giving, what we call as seva. We say seva, sadhana, satsang. So sadhana is like meditation that we do every day, like Aditya shared with you what is happening from 13. That is like sadhana, and this is also sadhana. This is satsang actually. What you are doing right now is you are in the company of sattva. As we discussed earlier, there are three guna: sato gun, rajo gun, tamogun. So you are right now in the company of something which is discussing right now. This 100 plus people are engaged in the discussion of higher level of intelligences. Instinctive intelligence is available in the animals also. Even emotional intelligence is available even in plants. If you water the plants with love, one plant with love, one plant with hatred, the plant which you would water with love would grow faster, and the plant that you would water with hatred is likely to grow at a much slower pace or die down. That is the power of love. And plant kingdom has that emotional intelligence, the astral body. Mineral kingdom has only pranic body. Like our first layer is this physical body, second layer is this pranic body, and then comes this higher levels, and we are talking about mental. So what as per our scriptures we call the koshas. Annamaya kosh, like physical body. The pranamaya kosh is what I was talking to, was the etheric body, pranic body. That's why there are pranic healing systems also, we do energy healing, Reiki healing, and then we have Manomay Kosh, which we are basically talking about in terms of mind management from the managerial perspective that we talked about today. And then we have Vijnanamay Kosh, which is like intellect. So intelligence is like, coming from the intellect domain, which feeds into the mind, buddhi जिसको बोलते हैं. And then is the Anandamay Kosh, which is near the soul. These are called as 5 sheets of your main existence. So coming to the spiritual intelligence, wisdom, intuition, leader of all leaders, long lasting, legendary leadership, all these are dimensions of spiritual intelligence. So we'll come more into that. We'll say how to create what we want to create. Do you want to be a creator or be a piece of creation just like that you want to be a passive beneficiary of the development process, or you want to be an active participant in the development process? What do you want to create? Ask yourself, write in the chat. I will see the chat on this. What exactly you want to create? What kind of decision making you want to do for yourself? What kind of perceptions you are making right now at this moment? What is the problem that you want to encounter with? A discrepancy between some current state of affairs and some desired state is like a problem. And decisions are like the choices that we make from among 2 or more alternatives. And the perception of the decision making is made out of these things. And then we get outcomes from this. Decision making styles could be